Welcome to my list of the best AA games. So these are games that are not full priced at $60, usually made by a smaller team, but they have a lot of innovation and the storytelling is often very rich. First game on my list is 2017's Hellblade Senua Sacrifice. This game tells the story of a Celtic woman who is on a quest to save her dead lover's soul, and she has to go through Viking hell and defeat all these demons and creatures in hell. The game is very atmospheric, almost scary, horrorish, but it's not really a horror game. The game also has an amazing immersive audio system. So headphones are recommended for this game because it increases the immersion of this game a lot. It's set during the 7th or 8th century somewhere. Yeah, the gameplay is pretty standard. It's a hack and slash in that sense, and third person. The game is also not very long, but it is an excellent game. It also looks at mental health issues. So yeah, if you haven't played this, try this out with an open mind because this is quite amazing. Ghostrunner is a recent cyberpunk first-person hack and slash parkouring type of game. So you play as this ninja and you have to make your way to the top of a tower. And it's just fast paced. Think of it as like Hotline Miami, but in like first person view. You can kill people with one hit and you can also get killed by one hit. And you have just string together your moves, wall run, hack enemies, string together multiple kills, etc., and clear parts of the map and then move on to the next section and basically keep going up and up and up. It looks really good, and it's, as I said, not a full priced game. Fast, fluid. If you want an action game with all these things, this is one of the best I've played recently. Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero. So I'm showing you footage from Subnautica Below Zero, the sequel, but both of these games are excellent survival games. Made by smaller teams. You are on an alien underwater planet, and there are lots of creatures. And you have to, set up your bases, craft, figure out what's going on. There's a story in the background as well. In the first game, the story is not as sort of handholdy. You are not told what to do. You're given hints and audio logs and things like that to figure out the story and try to find a way out of the island. The second one is a bit more easier to play because they tell you and you get constant updates. But there are giant creatures. You have to make your own ships and small boats and things like that. And it's an amazing game. The crafting is really good in this game. Survival aspect, you have to worry about food. You have to worry about, breathing underwater. It's also very cold here. So you have to, keep yourself warm. And yeah, so you have to worry about creating energy sources, having a habitat to live in, running away from predators, etc. And yeah, these are not expensive games. The first one was given away free by the Epic Game Store, so a lot of you may already have it. And yeah, definitely worth playing. It took me around 50 hours to get through the first game, so plenty of content as well. And of course, you can be a bit faster about it and just focus on the story. But if you explore it and you can look around and see, it's enjoyable. And it's also genuinely scary in some parts. It's not a horror game, but because it's underwater and a lot of times you have to go deep underwater, it can get scary. Next is an older game. This is a game that I really like. I have done like a full let's play of this as well. This is made by Ninja Theory again, the people behind Hellblade. This is one of their older games. Initially, it came out on PlayStation and Xbox 360, but then they later ported it on PC. This is Enslaved Odyssey to the West. It follows the journey of two characters, Monkey and Trip, as they go west, basically. It's very loosely based on that Chinese story, Journey to the West. Basically, you have to accompany this girl to her village. This is a post-apocalyptic setting. There are mechs running around who have sort of killed everyone, and you have to basically fight. Those are the main enemies. You don't run into other human enemies. It's just the mechs. And so Monkey does the fighting, and Trip, she can, do some tech related stuff like open doorways and things like that. and you have to occasionally help each other uh, get through certain puzzles, etc. Very nice game. Reminds me a bit of, Last of Us. Greedfall is a recent RPG from Spiders. This is a story driven, character driven RPG where there's a lot of talking, a lot of dialogue, and there is combat, etc. as well. But I would say the combat is the weaker part of this game. The best thing about this game is the voice acting, in my opinion, and the quest design. The quest design is, in my opinion, as good, if not better, than The Witcher 3. Voice acting is excellent. Like every character has a detailed story, and they just do their parts very well. The lip syncing, however, is really bad. It's sort of 1970s kung fu movies, the dubbed movies. It's that level bad in some cases, which would suggest maybe it was originally in a different language. Of course, this is a French studio, so maybe that could be part of the reason, or it's just, the budgetary constraints of a AA studio, I guess. But yeah, the game is excellent. The combat isn't that great. The AI is a little too dumb, in my opinion. But the branching narrative, the quest design, every side quest is connected to the main quest, which is very important, because if you want to play the game and understand the whole lore of this setting, it's this island, then it matters a lot. So I would recommend that you play the side quests, try to do all of them, because they're very deeply connected. The whole place is also very different. Like, it's a 17th century setting, like a New World sort of setting, but with sort of fantasy, magical elements thrown in. It's like as if it's just part and parcel of the thing. It's not surprising. The people who live here, the natives, they're just used to it. It's just routine for them. So that makes it quite interesting as well. But yeah, I haven't played many games like this. It had just a different feel to it. And this was probably one of the last games that I no-lifed. I just got it and played it all the way through, like 40 hours in a week or so. A Plague Tale Innocence is the next game. Now, this is a very popular game of recent years, and you may have seen this in a lot of lists, and rightfully so. It's got a very nice story. It's set during the Black Death in the 1300s, during the period of the 100 Years' War. And you play as two kids, basically. Most of the time you play as this girl, Amicia, and she has to protect her brother and get him to safety. Now, there is some supernatural elements as well, but the main enemy in the game are the rats that you have to fight. So I can't really say much. Story is really good. Game length is decent. And you should definitely check this out if you get a chance. Vampyr is my next recommendation. Set in the early 1900s, you play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, who has recently been bit and, turned into a vampire. But he's a decent guy. He's a doctor, and he has to balance both these things. So his hunger for blood, or thirst, I should say, and his sort of moral duty to be like a good person and be a doctor and help save people. So the whole story is his basically dilemma, and he works the night shifts at a hospital. There are different characters that you meet and interact with, and then you talk to them. The more you talk to them, the more sort of you shortlist them in terms of who you should, kill and drink their blood, and who you leave. And your decisions will have an effect on London and how things, how things are shaped because of those things. Like if you kill like a good person or something, things could go wrong, etc. So yeah, very interesting setup here. The voice acting, once again, was really nice. The main guy who plays Jonathan Reed, it felt like there was like a proper actor doing the voicing. And yeah, it looked really good and high quality for a AA game. Next is Snowrunner. Of course, you were expecting this if you've seen my channel. Now on Steam as well. The best off-roading game, in my opinion. Off-roading sim, vehicle sim, whatever you want to call it. You have different maps, a lot of cars, and you have different quests and missions to do, from repairing bridges, fixing roads, carrying the materials needed for a Russian Elon Musk type to help him set up his space station and whatever. It's just a brilliant game, very satisfying. If you like games like Euro Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator, or the previous Spin Tires game made by the same people, you'll absolutely love this. This is the sort of game where you start playing and you think, okay, I've played for a bit. I got it on Epic, and I played it for a bit, and I thought maybe I must have put in 5-6 hours. When I looked at my game time, it was like in the 20s, 25 hours or something. So very enjoyable game, and I would highly recommend this game. Frostpunk is the next game. So this is a survival game with city building elements. I would say the city building is secondary. Survival would be like 60 to 70%, and 30% would be like the city building aspect. So the world has frozen over, and people have moved north to places with these giant coal-fed generators. The reason they've gone north is because there's more coal available. Coal is more plentiful. So they designed their cities around this central giant generator to keep themselves warm. So you build houses and other things in circles around the center. There are different scenarios in the game. You have to survive a certain number of days. Initially, you'll find resources lying around, wood and coal and things like that. And then you have to send hunting parties. You have to prepare your own food, build houses, improve the insulation and heating on the houses because it starts getting colder and colder. Do research on different aspects of, coal and heating and insulation and whatever, hunting, etc. And you have to survive as it gets colder and colder. You are the sort of captain, the leader of the group, and you have to make difficult choices and difficult decisions. Like you could enforce 24-hour working shifts. You could make child labor legal, and all sorts of things. So it's all about surviving the scenarios. There's an endless mode as well, but there are multiple scenarios that you have to go through. Really good game, really hard as well. Even the normal difficulty will kick your ass. Even on easy difficulty, you may not survive. So yeah, definitely try this out if you like survival games. Warhammer Vermin 2. If you're a regular on this channel, you know how much I like this game, and I was going to mention this. It's a co-op hack and slash, as well as shooting elements as well. It's just an action game set during the end times of the Warhammer universe. You play as one of 5 heroes, and there are multiple maps with different objectives that you have to clear. You have to fight the Skaven hordes, which are basically ratmen, chaos, as well as the beastmen. And different settings, different locations with different objectives. And the maps are surprisingly big. So each map will take you at least 20 minutes or so to complete. Multiple difficulty settings. So I think there are 5 settings. And of course, you get rewards and loot at the end of each mission, better looking weapons, slightly different stats, etc. And you can specialize in 5 different characters. Each have their own unique abilities and things. So you have a witch hunter, you have a knight, you have a dwarf, you have an elf, and you have a fire wizard. And you have to work as a team because in this game, the enemies, there are some specialist enemies that drag you away from your team. So you have to stick together. Otherwise, you will get killed easily and then make it harder for your teammates. Easy difficulties are fine, but as you go on harder difficulties, there'll be friendly damage as well. So you have to be careful of that. Very, very good game. Fluid movement, action is good, very satisfying combat. Each character has a ranged and a melee weapon. So you have different, options, and each of them have different weapons as well. So yeah, very, very satisfying game, not an expensive game. Another bonus thing I wanted to mention is that the DLC maps, if one of your party has the maps, everybody can play those maps. So not everybody needs to own them. So as long as you have the base game, and let's say one of your friends has all the maps, then you can just play with them and get to play all the maps. So highly recommend this game. It's recently got more players playing because they added some more career classes for some of the heroes. I think they'll be adding one for each of them. And it's got a decent 10,000-12,000 player base, but it's something that you can play alone as well. If you're playing alone, you'll have 3 bots with you, or you can have 3 other friends play and they can jump in and join. You can also play with randoms. I've mostly played with one other friend and I've really enjoyed it.